In our last episode, we raided the warehouse and we were able to finally get those very valuable broccoli and pineapple seeds. And that's going to really up our game in the farming. However, we definitely need to make some time for automation, and that's what we've done here. This is a fully automated system. It seeds, it harvests, it waters. It's all done at the controls of a computer room that we've built to make it smarter. So if you come in here, you can see that we have the computer panel there to the right and the controls here where I can turn things on and off, as well as adjust timings and settings so that the machine flows just perfectly. And we're currently planting a set of potatoes. We definitely need the ammo. And I've got some tier 1 crops going for testing, and because during building this, the raids were coming. You know, during testing, you got to plant things. So we've been fighting off a few raids. We are also up to 192 crops. I did end up adding a couple of rows just because the efficiency of the pistons and everything. I had the room, so why not? It does up the game quite a bit, and it looks wonderful. And the system just purrs right along with no assistance. So with all that said, now let's jump in and I can show you how we built this, and you can have the system yourself. You're definitely going to want one of these setups. It's a beautiful scrap mechanic sunset, and we are at our start point with our existing watering system, and that's all it does currently. If we hit the switch, you can see here where it just starts automatically going back and forth, watering every plot perfectly. It's synced up, it's with sensors to make sure it hits the center of each plot. So with that said, the first thing, unfortunately, I need to disassemble this to move it. We're gonna have to rebuild it anyway quite a bit to make the harvester and the planter. So I guess enjoy it while it's here. But now let's just go ahead and start taking it apart piece by painful piece, and we're gonna rebuild. And oh yeah, you can always see logic doing fun things when you do this. We're gonna need a little more left to right room to install both a harvester and a planter. And we just don't have enough of it back and forth because it's going to need to pass completely over the plots on this side as well as on this side, and that really means this entire system is going to need to get a little bit bigger. And I think the easiest thing for me to do is, unfortunately, I'm going to need to add another piston to the system of the pushing that's going out that way, and that will allow for the extra room we need to get the auto harvester in. So I'm going to put the beginning of the cage here, and we want to drop it down about so. If I put it too low, I can't get through it. I do like to be able to walk around or at least duck under it. So we're gonna start here. We'll see how that lines up, and then on the one on both sides, we're just gonna build a box, nothing fancy. That's center, so we want to make sure we build it so it starts just behind really this dot right here in the middle. So the first thing we want is, and you can do these in either order if you want to do planting first or harvesting first. I don't think it really matters. Maybe it will with a little trial and error. We'll find it. Maybe there's a way one works better than the others. But for now, let's just see what that does. Okay, and that lines up perfectly. We're great by going straight down. We're dead center. These are 3 wide, so we're right in the middle of it. Boom, there we go. And this one I'll have harvest, plant, and water. Just like that. Let's go up to the top here where I have prepared a computer area, new and improved, a little switchboard. Nothing's wired. I just thought for once maybe I'll look at cosmetics as well as function. So with that said, now the fun part. We've got to wire all of this up. And you know, where do you start, right? So I think it's just a matter of picking, let's start with the pistons. The first thing, of course, it needs to go across the field. So let's start with wiring up the controller that's going to do that. And that's this level 10 controller. You need to go first to the ones in the back. And I got to feel like I'm going to do some jogging here. Very good. That's 1 and 2. I gotta try to pay attention. This is going to turn into spaghetti real fast. So I want to make sure I set it up in a way that makes sense to me. All right, big red switch is the on and off, and I did want another one for water. Is this a nice? And another one for the seating, which may be green. We're already wired on that. We've got them into the controller, and so we'll put the power switch to the controller like so. I'll tell you what, when in doubt, test it. So let's go ahead and let's start pushing it and see what happens. We're off, we're not looped or anything. We just want to test it. And I do, because of the back and forth, it's really helpful if you allow it to pause. So let's go ahead and start with 2 pauses. Then we go first set fires, second set fires, third set, it holds at a count. Then it pulls back, then it retracts the second set, and then the first. It looks good to me. Let's give it a little, well, we don't want it to go too fast. It won't be a what, but for this as a test, let's just see how it does. And turn on. And oh, there it goes. Oh no. Okay, something, as you can see, it started to get off track, and this is one of the things that it's going to happen sooner or later. There was something in the way. I'll take a look at it here in a second. Hopefully I stopped it and I can just fix it with a lift. And you know, sometimes it's hard to get things, so you just kind of give yourself a bar here and give it a little nudge. Should go right back. There we go. One. There we go. And we need to figure out what might have caught it up. I'm really glad we tested. This is exactly why we wanted to do that. And I don't need it a bunch. It just needs to make sure it starts, you know, after that first foot that's pushing out. But I think for safety, remember, we're going to go for the biggest raid possible, and that'll be just one thing that a tape bot would have to shoot through. I'm going to replace even some of the moving parts, like these feet I'm using. You know, I tried to minimize that little guy right there. Replace that with one of these really low friction blocks, and it should move better. We should have a much better result. Sure, I didn't. Yeah, I think that's still moving there. Okay, see how this works. What I'm going to try to attempt, and we'll testing. All right, we're going to see how this works. Is if I can draw it into, and I may have to like use some vacuum tubes to get this all to work out. But I want it to pull in and filter the potatoes into this and this. I don't know what direction we're gonna have to go yet, but and I may have to move this actually. Now I'm looking at it, but I want it to also, when it pulls them in, it's gonna pull in potato seeds, and I want it to put it into this container for planting again. And now with a little trial and error, I've got it working perfectly. It comes all the way down to the end. I've got some of those nice frictionless blocks up here. It's got a little stopper just to make sure everything stays tight and it doesn't overshoot the track. So really good. We've now got the, we'll call it north and south, accomplished. It successfully goes back and forth very, very well. Next up, we gotta go east and west. We need, and to do that, of course, we're gonna have to reestablish our memory system and the counting system that we put in our video we did a while back about the expert watering system. So I'll try to cover it real briefly here, but I won't go into more detail. If you want to see more detail, I encourage you to watch that video. This time, since I've got a nice vertical wall here, I'm gonna go about it as logically, kind of like I'm coding it, and I'm not saying I'm coding. It's just flow like a program top to bottom in the order that I want it to execute. So right at the top, let's put our 1-tick generator. We're gonna need 3 blocks. It's gonna start with an XOR, and we also need a NOR gate. And the wiring on this is a little specific. You wanna make sure that you go from your XOR into your NOR, and the XOR goes into the AND gate, and then you finally, this one goes here. So it's kind of wired through that way, and now we should get a 1-tick, and we'll wire this to our button. I think, and for testing purposes, I'll just put the button here real quick, and we'll Wired up the first one just to make sure this works. And it does. We get a single blip here is what we're going for. And that's perfect. So from that, we can underneath, just gonna start stacking our first memory set. And we're gonna have 3 of these, so might as well just block it in. Creates a lovely set of memory. And these all just need to be wired together to create their memory bits, which is fine. So we'll just do that in nice big circles. There we go. We got 3 1-bit memory modules for us to use with this 1-bit generator. So if we do this from here to here, so once it's wired there, now we also want to make sure these all need to be XOR gates. So let me go ahead and make that XOR, XOR. There we go. Now they're memory bits. Turns on and off with our 1-bit generator. Perfect. And now we just need to wire them together with an AND bit so that we can start generating these down the row to add in when we have the clause that if one's lit and the next one isn't, we can go ahead and light it up. It'll start counting. So the logic is if this is on and it gets another bit, then go ahead and light this guy up. So we want to put this to here and this to here. And when that is true, and we make sure you do it to all of these or it'll get wonky on you. It's very important you wire it to all of them. And now we can click it and there we go. It's counting. And it even resets nicely at the end, which is perfect. And we do the same thing for the next one up as well. And it's a little bit trickier because it has a second and. So again, it starts with, oh, I got another tick. But this time I need both of these also to be on. So I need to get the tick, that's on, and that's on. If true, we fire up our extra memory bit. Oops. And there we go. It should just, and there it is. That's our counting that we wanted to do as it fills up. So it would start off, if you want, as this would be row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and Sesame Street would be proud, but there you go, it can count. And that's how we want it. We're going to wire that to the piston so that as those go up, the piston on the tray, you know, for what we're calling east and west, will fire off. I'm going to use the first one and patch this into our first piston, and it should be right here. And the second one, of course, to the second memory bit. And the last one to the third. Just like so. And just to remind you that these are set to intervals of 3, 6, and get in there, 12. The combination of which is what allows it to move over each of these rows. You know, this would be 0, this would be 3, 6, 9, 12. And then you start adding in another 3, etc. So it actually works its way across. In theory, this should work. If I hit this button, we go from our 1 position to the 2 position. And it moved over. Let's check our alignment. I'm so excited. That might have actually worked. First try. Oh, that just looks good. We're centered, right? And we are. We're perfectly centered. It moved over 1 good clean row. It's great. So I think next, let's teach it how to do that on its own. So we've got this set up to a loop, so it will go back and forth. But we wanted to get to the end, and then we wanted to move over a row and get back, and then move over a row. So to do that, we're going to need the sensors. And I've got a few here, and we're going to need at least 1 on each side. So this will be the sensor on this side that we want to use to have it travel back. So I'm just trying to, I'm eyeballing it. It might be like right here is what I'm thinking. Just want to make sure it doesn't touch anything else. No, that's good. So when the tray hits this spot, that means it's reached the end. It will trigger the return. So this is the sensor here. Let's tell by the color. So that'll create a blip, and this one will create the blip. And it's really good to have this 1-bit generator, because otherwise the sensor would send like a long signal, or it could send a unsteady, like several blips at once if it was shaky as it went over. So it's really good to have that in place now. So now what we want to do, let's test the system. Let's fire it up. Moves to the end. detects the sensor and moves over. And also, just to help with our visual display, since we had it counting, I couldn't resist, and I actually dialed it into a counter here at the top. It's not a number display, but it's certainly really the basic of getting one established. And basically, by a series of NOR gates at the top, I tell it what I don't want, and at the bottom, I tell it what I do want. And between the two, as we count up, and you can see it count up now. So we're starting at row 1, which of course is the memory board is completely blank, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So you can see now we have a nice visual display that shows it advancing across the field, this way, and we can see where it's at, and see our memory's working. And I thought it was just a nice, friendly display. Maybe I'll paint it or something, but for now, it's very satisfying. All right, so now what we have is we've got the movement, and it'll automate. If I turn it on, it'll just keep moving back and forth, north and south, east and west. And so now what we need to do is start making it do the things we needed to do with its payload. So let's start with the watering system. I think that, for anything else, that's a good place to start. Now we need to align those targets with where the water cannons are, and they're a little different now. So let me turn it off so we can catch it. Again, the friction is the enemy of this reliability. So I just gotta make sure I don't forget to set it to 2, but now it's not touching. That's even better. And you can see it's lined up and it's lit, letting you know that it's hitting the peg. So that is part 1 of the watering system. So what we need to do, because we need to have that, when that one's on it and that one's on it, we need it to fire. And that means an AND gate, maybe one more. There we go. So what we want now, this AND gate is based off of these. So let me grab the first sensor here. And the second sensor, which is the one up here. So when those are both lined up, we want it to fire this water cannon. Okay, it's this one here. That's what's gonna fire the water cannons. And it's on right now, so it's not surprising that we got a sploosh. Sploosh. Perfect. And in theory, I mean, it will, right now, it will run. The only problem I have is I don't have it tied into the water pump, and we'll run out of water. So let me grab that. This is the power, the main. We'll tie that into our switch here. And let's test that. And to disable the water by a switch, what I can do is just add another AND gate here. Oh, it's turned. There we go. And the logic for this will be that it has, of course it gets the triggers from here, like everything else, but it also has to have the switch on. If we now tie in the water pumps instead to this beginning gate with the second one where all the conditions have to be true, then we'll be able to just turn off by switch if we need. The water system is noisy, which is one of the reasons I have it, so I can have it turn off with the switch. Maybe I just want to harvest it. I don't want to add more water to the field, so I'm just trying to clear the fields out so I don't get any more raids. So even if this is true, because the switch is off, it won't send a signal here, and there it goes. It's trying to water, but it can't because I've got this this condition on it, if you will. Now if I turn this on, it should start watering again. Moving over a row. Working great. And now it's starting to water again. There we go. So for the harvest trigger, I just want the main switch to be on. If the main switch is on, that's good. And if the harvest trigger is on, which is this pink one over here. So with those two set, that's what we're gonna put to our harvesting guys, which is this one here, and figure out the right one. This one here, the one's in the middle. So now when the harvesting switch is on and the main is on, it will harvest. So harvest that on, put that on. We are now harvesting. You can see it's trying. It's trying to harvest, but there's just nothing to pick up. But that's successful. We now have the ability to turn it on and off separately from our other systems. and it works with the main system as well. So the final thing that we'll want for this is the seeding, and I saved planting the seeds for last because once we start doing that, it's going to trigger a raid, and you can do this with or without the pistons. I kind of just liken the ability to adjust it from here with our control panel. If I put a piston here, oh, I can put a sensor on it. I was just a little too close. There we go. But just to test this, I want to make sure it works. I'm going to have, let's go ahead and tie this into the controller. I have a separate controller just for this. Part of our setup here is our, here we go. We'll lower each of these, and it just needs to default there. I don't need to switch this. They're just going to be down. Just like that. And there it is. Perfect. It sees a plant. It says, nope, I'm not going to need to put one there. But if I take that out, it turns off. And that's perfect. So what we'll have is a combination. It's very similar to the other sensor setup, which is once this position is lined up and it says, hey, you're on position, is there a plant there? If not, plant one. Oh. Right there. It's right where the foot is. It looks, oh, which is right where the other one is. Perfect. And there we go. We've got the sensor in place. That'll help fire that off. So for that, let's go ahead. And of course, we need another logic gate that, you know, when all those conditions are true, it will fire off. So let's plot that into our computer. So now we've got, and just so I can help with the setup for this, we'll use this first set is watering. So let's just, you know, blue it. That's watering. And the second one is for harvesting, right? So let's pink that one. And this third one is for planting, which is a green. Okay, do that again real quick. Power on. Green switch on. Our alignment sensor is tripped. And our other alignment sensor is tripped. However, and we make this a NOR gate. We don't want there to be a plant there. So that's this bit here. If there is a plant here, don't plant. That's going to go to the NOR. Like that, and then the NOR comes back over. So it's only if all these conditions are true, that'll light up and it'll plant. So this has to be on. This has to be on. So that sets up what we need to have for the logic for this planter. When all that's true, you pop out a little seed. And same here. Now got the logic ready to go. When all of that is true, you can also kick out a seed. There we go. And that may be it. I think we're ready for a test. So let me turn on the harvester. I'm gonna leave the planter off. I don't have any seeds in it anyway. So let me go ahead and try this. We should have the water, and the water and both of these planters should all be going off at the same time. We can advance our switch to row 1. Got a nice sensor here. I like that. There we go. We get good visibility. This is all going as planned, almost like I meant to do it. All right, all the switches are on. We fire on the switch. The harvester 1 is going. Harvester 2 is going. Water. And it's trying to plant, but it has no seeds, so it is failing. Ooh, that's looking good. It's looking really good. One there. Clear. Is it right on the next row in the center? It is. This looks really good. I think we're ready to put some seeds in it and see if this works. Now, of course, that's going to trigger a raid. What time is it? So let's do this. I'm going to try to do it first thing in the morning. So for here, we want to put in our harvesting bin our 2 seeds for this. That's our veggies. And in this, we wanted to plant the seeds from here. So potatoes. And there we go. So this should All right, I got carrots. Why don't I just throw them all in there? All right. And this should be it. When I turn this on, it should automatically harvest or automatically do everything. It is time. It is time. Let's fire it up. The maiden voyage, fully automated. Computer's working. It's planting. Look at that. It's working. It is fully working. Okay, it planted one row. It shifts. The sensor should also work backwards. It does. The water comes in afterwards. There was a little bit of back and forth. It was the timing wasn't quite right. So what I did is I installed a couple of timers at each end so that when it passes back and forth, it delays it. And I did this by adding another type of memory bit, which is this NOR OR gate. When you put these together in a loop, it creates another memory bit. When you send a signal into this gate, it actually activates this for you, and that's what I'm using to trigger the on-off for the gates, and you can reset it over here. So what I did is I have this side of it being triggered by the on switch and the piston at this end, and it resets when it reaches the other end through that sensor over there. So between the combination of the two of them, it turns on and off, and it controls the controller, which is no longer a loop. It just slowly moves through its extension. And when it reaches the end, we turn this controller off and it just pulls itself back. But if the other dials are on, then it still plants and waters, etc. So I know that's a lot, and we have really reached a nice technical. Here is that spaghetti I promised you. You can see it everywhere. It is spaghetti and the meatballs. It's all about it, but it's so smart. So now, because now at the end, I can control, and that's the nice piece here. That's why we built a nice easy control panel. We can turn all our bits on and off. We can advance rows. We can actually have timers for each end of the setting, so we can dial these in so it works really nicely. And if I turn this on, you can see this in action where it will, part of this, the controller, it has a little delay at the beginning, and it goes about its business. This timer relaxes, and you'll see at the end, it'll hit the timer. Well, you'll see it here as soon as it flips over. There it goes, and it starts the timer, which allows it to move over the row. And it's got a little extra time because of a reset if it needs to move all the way back. And then it moves back, goes about its business. I have everything else off, so it's just in the test pattern to move back and forth. And now it reaches the end, triggers the sensor on this side, which is right there. And that starts another timer, allowing it to move across all. In this case, you can see it had to move all the way back. Plenty of time because of the timer. So now if I turn it all on, it will now go about its full paces, and we will be in it. And of course, now it's going to start with planting, watering, and moving about that. You can see how nicely it's doing that. So there you have it, a fully automated crop system. It plants, it harvests, it waters. In this case, it also contains potato canisters, so that we can automate spud cannons with that for the base defenses. We can plant 2 different types of crops or more if we want to mix the seeds in the containers. And I think in the end, we came up with a very attractive control panel that allows us to control the individual parts of it, and we can play with the settings in the controllers and the timings. And we have our computer to the right, purely logic gates, and I added a few little blinky lights. That's always fun. So now we have the complete setup, fully automated, something that we can turn on, let it run, and just grab resources from it as we need to. And this will just keep on running. Now we'll take a look. You may have to grab some seeds and move them from the collector bin over into the planter side. I want to thank you for being here and walking us through this very technical explanation of the automated watering system. And I look forward to the next episodes as we build up our base defenses, as these crops are going to attract a lot of attention and we need to get some big crops in the ground. Thank you very much. See you in game.